Hey, what's up fellow patronates? Welcome to my first ever educational video for Patreon supporters only. This video is going to be the educational video for the month of May. I know I'm bringing you guys this with a little bit of delay, right? I'm supposed to have brought you guys this on the 15th, but please understand that it has been extremely busy, crazy busy, and therefore I haven't been able to do a lot recently. Anyways, this month's educational video is going to be on color. Color is a topic in the fishing community that has been going on forever. Is color really important? Is the color on a lure really important? How is it that fish perceive color? Do they perceive color the same way as human beings perceive? This is what we're going to talk about today. As you guys know, I have a fixation for one specific color, and that is pink, right? If you guys watch my YouTube videos, you guys have seen already that I use the pink rod, the Avid Pearl. Let me give you guys a view here, right? I use the pink rod, the Avid Pearl with my Cast King, pink line, and here's my preview of my pink box, right? All the lures inside this box are pink. And people have often asked me, Leo, what is about your fixation with the color pink? Is it just because you like it? Or is there something more to it? And in this video, I'm going to tell you guys kind of the secret of why I like pink so much, okay? But anyways, summarizing, right? In this video, you are going to learn how how fish are able to perceive color. You will be able to learn where the concept of matching the hatch came from, which actually came from the scientific perspective, the scientific view of color, and you will learn a lot about pink. Why pink is an overall productive color when it comes to fishing. So stay tuned for the short video because you are going to learn a lot. When talking about color, the first thing you need to know, right, or have a background for, is how human beings perceive color, right? We perceive color in a very unique way, right? We have this thing that is called the light spectrum, right? The color spectrum. You guys may be familiar with this, maybe not. You can Google it, right? You can just go out there and Google a light spectrum, and you will see that you have all the colors in the visible light spectrum, right, the colors that we can see inside a little kind of column, okay, that starts with red on one side and ends with purple on the other side. And in between, there are all the other different colors, right, blue, green, etc. When I say other colors, I'm talking about primary colors, secondary colors, and etc. And those are the colors that we can perceive, right? Those are the colors that human beings can perceive. When we learn biology in school, we learn that there are cells in our eyes, specialized cells in our eyes that are called rods and cones, right? And those rods and cones, one of them actually helps us perceive all these colors that are around. But the moral of the story is that human beings, as human beings, we can only perceive certain colors. We can only perceive a certain part of the spectrum. That light spectrum, that visible spectrum, that color spectrum that starts with red and ends with purple is actually not the whole thing, For example, human beings are not able to perceive ultraviolet, okay? This is something very interesting, and that's why when you have those rays of ultraviolet coming from the sun to the earth, right? You can't see them, but the only thing that you can do is when you're getting a tan out there or you're just fishing on a hot summer month, right? You can feel it. You can feel the ultraviolet rays get on your skin, and that's how you get tan, right? That's how you get that portion of vitamin D in your body, but you can't see it. And this is one of the first things that you need to know about our nature, the human nature. It lies in the fact that we can see a lot of things the way we perceive our world, okay? I can look at something and say that is white. I can look at something and say that is green and or that is blue. But there are certain things out there that do exist, and we, just as a species, we can't perceive it, like ultraviolet. And now we will talk a little bit about fish. Fish perceive color in a very different way, okay? In a sense that fish cannot perceive color only in the visible spectrum that human beings do, okay? Meaning beginning at red and ending at purple, but they can perceive other colors out there. Call it colors, right? But they're not really colors, right? You have to follow me on this concept of fish. For example, fish can see ultraviolet. Some species of fish can see ultraviolet. And it gets even more complex to that. It gets complex to a point that scientists have come to realize that depending on the species of the fish, they perceive color differently. Some fishes, for example, they perceive the color red, which is on one side of the spectrum, our visible spectrum, right? They perceive red better. Isn't that interesting? Largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, right? Fishes from the Centracidae family, right? And the Micropterus genus. They have been known to perceive red better. That is something very interesting. And then on the other hand, you have other fishes that have been able to perceive other colors better. Okay, and it just so happens that pink, okay, which is a very mysterious color, is an all good color for most species of fish out there. Why? Before we even talk about that, right, let's talk a little bit about the concept of matching the hatch, which is pretty much the idea, of matching different types of lures to what exactly the fish eat, okay? Let me give you guys a good example of this. I have a few lures here at the back, so let me grab a lot of them. All right, there we go. So we got here our first example, for example, okay, match the hatch, right? This is a little salamander, and they made the salamander this color for a reason, okay? They have different colors in the market, but they made it this color for a reason. Maybe some salamanders out there look that way. Let me give you guys another example, okay? Let me get something a little bit more crawfish realistic, okay? Let me get you guys two different types of crawfish here that I have at the back. Soft plastic crawfish, okay? This one here is the Berkeley chigger craw, okay? That is in this color right here, alrighty? And this one, I don't quite remember the brand, right? But they also made it in this color that you guys see. And then you ask me, Leo, why is it that they're making colors like these, right? I'll give you guys one last example here, right? And those are that example are the lures that resemble shad. Okay, this is something extremely interesting. So for example, you have lures like this, okay, a little spook, okay, and the spook has a little dot, a little black dot over here that is supposed to resemble a shad pattern, okay. Let me grab another lure over here that may also have the black dot. Okay, there we go. We got a little very old lure that I have right here, okay, the ghost minnow, that also has a little dot on the side, okay, to resemble the shad. And this all applies to the theory of matching the hatch. Because human beings, even nowadays, they were not able to find out how exactly fish perceive color, okay? In other words, we don't know for sure how is it that a fish see the world around them. After all, we are not fish, right? Because we have never done that yet. And then hopefully we'll be able to do that in the future. The only solution that we have found as scientists and anglers is to match the hatch. People pretty much came to the conclusion, listen, if we don't know how is it that a fish perceive colors, right? All we're going to do, we're going to try to match our lures, our artificial baits, to the stuff that they eat. Because ultimately, if they eat those things, and we make things that are similar in color and move similarly, they will eat that as well. And that's where the concept of matching the hatch came from. If you're not sure what lure to use in what type of situation, right? Because, color can get really tricky, right? If you have a lure that is a certain color, then it moves down the water column, the fish actually perceives that lure differently, right? Because according to each step of the water column, right, color kind of changes from a perspection point of view, right? You have refraction, you have reflection, right? And that's why sometimes people say that purple is the best color to use in deeper areas of a lake, okay? Why? Because purple is on the other side of the spectrum, right? As it goes down, that's the last color that you're going to see from down there in the water. And, you know, as I was saying, that's why some people say, when you are not sure what to use, what color to use, match the hatch, because this is the only thing, truth be told, that we can do nowadays, okay, to fool this fish. We don't know how they perceive color. We don't know how different species of fish differentiate when it comes to perceiving color. But we do know that when you match the hatch, when the movement is similar, they will bite. Okay, not only for bass, but for anything really, you know. Either if it is fly fishing, okay, fly fishing, they are very accurate with colors also on the flies, okay. Not only the model, right? In other words, not only the type of bug, depending on the hatch. That you know, but they are very accurate with colors too, okay? Largemouth bass community, right? Man, shad. I was just talking about shad. If you have a lake that feeds heavily on blue herring or shad, you should use lures that match those things, you know? Match a little geezer shad, match a little blueback herring, okay? If you have a lake that is overpopulated with rusty crawfish, maybe you should go with a crawfish with that little color. Some other crayfish in this country, they're blue, literally blue in color, and that's why you have some crawfish imitations that are blue in the market. So ultimately, color does matter, but we don't know yet everything that it is, you know, about when it comes to color and fish. Now, to conclude this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about pink, okay? As I mentioned previously, match the hatch does matter, but pink has just been this color that overall has done really great out there. For some reason, people have used pink worms, okay? Not as big as this, but people have used pink worms to catch trout, okay? And if you watch One Rod, One Reel Fishing's videos, you know that a while back he used I think he used Berkeley power worms or something like that were pink colored, you know? Pink zoom flukes, right? The bubblegum color zoom flukes. They have been known, you know, they're known to be notorious when it comes to certain saltwater species of fish. Okay, striped bass will bite on pink flukes at nighttime. A flounder will bite on pink stuff during daytime. And why is it that happens? And recently in my YouTube videos, if you guys have seen, I have been using the pink Johnson minnow spin, right? And I have been catching plenty of fish in it. The little pink feathers at the back really adds a nice thing to it. Let me show you guys here real quick. And you guys may ask me, why is it that it happens? What is about the color pink, right, that makes fish bite is so good? And all I can tell you is, it is still not fully understood either, because scientists have not done enough research on this. But did you know, for example, and this is just something for you to think about before I conclude this video, okay? Did you know, for example, that pink is not really a color? You know, I mean, pink, of course pink is a color. We can see pink, so pink must be a color. But pink is just not any color. When you have that visible spectrum, when you have the light spectrum, right, and you have the red on one side and the purple on the other side and everything in between, from a physics perspective, you will come to realize that each one of those colors has a certain wavelength. Okay, I'm going to science now. When it comes to science, okay, ultraviolet, X-rays, all the visible light, they all have different wavelengths. And in science, we don't really talk about colors. I mean, of course we talk about color, but we talk about wavelengths. If you have a certain wavelength, you know it is a certain color. If you have a certain wavelength outside of the visible spectrum, which is the colors that we can perceive, you know it is still there. It could be ultraviolet, it could be X-ray, right? We can't see X-ray either, but it does exist. And it so happens that pink doesn't have a wavelength. This is something for you guys to think about. Pink does not have a wavelength. In other words, you know, pink is a color that is very different than all the other colors there. It is kind of a mixture of wavelengths. It's a mixture of different colors. And if you think it that way, right, it is actually pretty common sense, right? If you get the color red and you add white to it, okay, you get pink, you know? But you're mixing two colors. It is a different story when you mix two colors, you know? But anyways, if you want to read more about it, this is just something for you to think about it, right? But if you want to read more about it, right, go online and Google pink. Why is it that pink is so good when it comes to fishing? I want you to do your own research too, you know, and go out there and learn a little bit more. And you are going to get fascinated when you read about those things. You know, you will feel truly fascinated because you are going to learn a lot. And I can tell you with not with a certain amount of certainty, okay, that although I don't know either why is it that pink works so well for fish, overall, pink is a really good color for multi-species fishing, because species of fish out there, okay, from my own experience, they just perceive pink so well in the water. We see it as pink, but when we put that pink in the water, they may as well be seeing something very, very different than we are seeing. You see what I'm saying? Now, how they see it, we will never be able to know because we're not fish. You know, but pink is an overall very good color. So I would definitely recommend pink when it comes to multi-species fishing or fishing with lures, which is exactly why I have this pink box, right, full of pink lures here right in front of me. This is something that I will never tell my regular subscribers, by the way. I wouldn't call really a secret, you know, but this is something, you know, every angler has its own, you know, little things, right, that you just don't tell people about. You know, you can teach them about techniques and other things, but there are some things, you know, that I would never reveal. But I'm revealing to you guys without a problem, you know. You guys are my patronites. But yes, when it comes to pink, it is not just my fascination for the color. This is just for you guys to know, you know. There is one aspect of colors, like I mentioned previously, match the hatch, and there is this aspect of colors, okay? One overall good color to use for lures, which in my opinion is pink. And I did a lot of trial and error, you know, to find out about this. In other words, I did a lot of field trips, fishing trips. I went out there, tested different colors, and this is how I came to the conclusion that pink works really well. Anyways, folks, I hope you learned a lot from this video. You know, as I mentioned, my educational videos are going to be short, right, in the range of 10 to 15 minutes. I already passed the limit for this one, but I hope you learned a little bit about color, you know, and the importance of matching the hatch. Summarizing, right, we really don't know how fish perceive colors, and that's why, you know, there is not an overall accurate color that will work in all conditions out there for fishing. Pink is something that gets close to it, but it will not work everywhere in every condition, and that's why fishing is so unpredictable. Because we don't know how fish perceive color, scientists and anglers came out with the idea of matching the hatch. And matching the hatch, why? Because, you know, they thought if fish eat those things every day, if fish see those things every day, we're going to try to imitate that, right, as accurate as possible, so fish will bite these imitations. And that did work. And even nowadays, you know, in the market, you have lures that, you know, match the hatch. So, you know, I hope you learned a lot about color. I hope you apply this knowledge in the future. Next time you buy a lure, you know, of course, you gotta look at the how the lure works, right? Its performance, but ultimately, you know, don't go out there and just buy any color. I hope you understand about the basics of this video, right? Buy the color that is going to match the hatch, and if it's not going to match the hatch, buy a color that you yourself believe that is suitable out there for most species of fish. In my opinion, I would buy pink. Okay, tie lines, folks. Until next video for the month of June. And the educational video for month of June is going to be actually on the different types of predators out there. We're going to talk a little bit about ichthyology, how to differentiate fishes, you know, when it comes to their ichthyology classification for predators. You know, we'll talk about that next month. It's going to be a lot of fun. And just for you guys to have an idea of this whole concept of watching a fish, right, and determining what type of predator it is, there was a famous scientist back in the days called Louis Agassiz. And Louis Agassiz had this really interesting way of testing his apprentices. What he would do, he would take a person to a room with a single fish tank, with a fish in it, one fish, and he would just go out, and he would leave that student in that room for 1 hour, sometimes 2 hours, and he would come in periodically to ask that student questions about what he had learned from watching that fish. This is something extremely interesting, and so we will be talking about that next month. We will be talking pretty much about the concept, the idea, right, of can you determine what type of predator a fish is just by looking at it in the water, in its natural habitat, and would you be able to come out with a plan to catch that fish based on the type of predator that it is? So, stay tuned. Next month, another educational video coming up. Thank you again for all of your support. I hope you learned a lot from this video. If you have any questions, post below. I will answer them. I will give priority to the questions in this video. Tie lines, and until next video, folks.